fun. I've been excited to share these recipes with you, and I'm just finally getting around to doing it. What we're gonna make is we're gonna make some things with beef tallow. So if you've been here a while, you've probably seen my video on how to render your own beef tallow. It's not nearly as hard as you think. By the way, this would work the same for deer tallow. You could do the same thing with lard. I choose to use beef tallow, and we use tallow that we get off of the beef that we raise here on our own homestead. If we run out, we can always go to our local locker and get some more and render it down, and that is what we use for our cooking, for our lotion, which is one of the things we're gonna make today. We're gonna make a whipped tallow balm or a tallow lotion, whatever you wanna call it. We're also going to make a tallow lip balm. These are really fun, super nourishing, really good for your lips. And something that you should know about tallow is one of the fats that is the closest in makeup to your skin. Okay, so just the way it's designed, it's very close to the oil that your skin produces. So that's why you will see a lot of people, you know, they put it on their face, use it as lotion, right? And it's healthy, obviously, because there's nothing synthetic in it. So we're gonna make some lip balm. By the way, these make great gifts for any time of year. And tallow is shelf stable, so you can just make these up, and then you can have them anytime to give away. Perfect for Christmas, stocking stuffers, right? You name it. So we're gonna make tallow lip balm, tallow lotion, and we're also gonna make a tallow jar candle. And so what's really great is if you have tallow in your pantry like I do, I just keep it in jars like this or like this, sealed. And that's what I use for all my cooking, all my frying, anything that calls for oil. This is, I melt it if it needs to be liquid or whatever. I also use butter, but generally tallow and butter are the two things I use. Because usually, you know, I have a fair bit of butter, but I like to save butter for toast and, you know, where you want the buttery flavor. And I save my tallow and I use it for all the other things. So all the oils, right? But if you have that, if your electricity were to go out, if you were to find yourself in a situation where you needed candles for light or heat or whatever, as long as you have some wicks, these are the wicks we're gonna use, or wick material, you can buy it actually, you can buy wick material like in spools in bulk. I like this because it has the little tab on the bottom, and I'll show you, it makes it really easy to make these. But you could grab a jar of this out of your pantry and really easily turn it into a candle, which is what we're gonna do today. And we're gonna make it smell pretty as well. You can use essential oils, or you can use phthalate-free fragrance oils, just depending on what you prefer. Anything that doesn't have phthalates in it is gonna be considered healthy and okay for you to use. So I love essential oils, I really do. I use them a lot, but today we're gonna make a strudel and spice candle, and it's got essential oils in it, but it's also got phthalate-free fragrance oils, just because it's hard to get that strudel and spice fragrance with essential oils alone. So anyway, we're gonna make a candle, and again, these make great gifts too. Super great. Tie it with a little piece of red raffia for Christmas. Any color for any time of year, right? And you could give these as teacher gifts, as Christmas gifts. And again, very practical and healthy for you, because something else that's interesting is burning synthetic paraffin wax candles is really bad for your health. So that paraffin wax actually dissolves into the air and it coats your walls and it gets in your lungs, like it's really bad stuff. So anyway, you can do all of this with just tallow. You can also make soap. There's lots of things you can do, and I do have a couple soap tutorials on this channel, and I'll show you more as time goes on and as time allows. But anyway, those are the three things we're gonna make today, so let's hop right into it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get stuff melting for the lip balm here. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make like 10 lip balm tubes worth of lip balm. Now, You can get a big tray that you can put 50 of these little lip balm tubes in. These are ones I got from Wholesale Supplies Plus because I have a soap making business, so I always have these on hand, but you can get them from Amazon, and I'll link some that you can use. But you can get a tray where you can easily make 50 of these at a time. We're just gonna make 10 today, so if you were gonna make 50, you would just times this recipe by 5. But knowing that some of you are gonna wanna make small batches, right? We're just gonna do 10 because not everybody needs 50 lip balms at a time. You can melt this on the stove. I'm gonna use the microwave just because it's gonna be easier and it's not gonna hurt anything. I have beeswax that I have bought from a local beekeeper, and I melted it down and then poured it into little containers and popped it out so that I could have small amounts. So I'm just gonna grate this beeswax, and you're only gonna need about a tablespoon, so you don't have to measure exactly, which is good for me because I don't like to measure. But about a tablespoon of beeswax, and it's best if it's grated, right? Or you can order little beeswax, they call them pastilles, little beeswax pieces. Anyway, this is just what I have, and so that's what I'm gonna use. And then we're gonna add 5 tablespoons of tallow. So this is tallow that I have for making this kind of thing. 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, it doesn't have to be super exact. The beeswax is gonna make it set up. It's gonna be just fine. And you know, this might end up being 10 or 12 lip balm tubes, just depending on how accurately you measure. But anyway, 5 tablespoons of tallow and a tablespoon of beeswax. I'm just gonna put this in the microwave, and it does take, you don't wanna overheat it, you wanna be careful. But I'm gonna melt it until in like 1 minute bursts until it's all the way melted, and then we'll pour it into the tubes after we add the essential oil. So really simple. And while that's melting, let's go ahead and do our candle. And what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna be just lazy and put this right back in this same jar. And so I'm not even gonna have to measure, but this would be about 16 ounces of tallow. Obviously, it's in a pint jar. So 2 cups of tallow. This is at room temperature. So it is solid, but it's not liquid, obviously. So what we wanna do is we wanna make this liquid. We're gonna melt it on the stove. You can melt it in the microwave too. It doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. I'm gonna use a spoon to get down in the edges here a little bit better. And again, you don't have to get it all out, right? Because we're just gonna pour it right back in here. So I'm just going to put this on the stove on low heat. I just wanna melt it. I don't wanna overheat it. So I just wanna, you know, gently melt it. And then we'll add our wick and our fragrance oil and get it put back in the jar. Okay, here's our lip balm. And there's little pieces of beeswax floating in there. If you stir it, now you can keep heating it, and we might have to do that. If you stir it, quite often what will happen is just the motion of you stirring it will finish melting the beeswax. If you get it a little hotter, and I just put this in for 2 minutes was all. If you get it hotter than this, sometimes it helps to let it cool off just a little bit before you pour it into your tubes, because it can be so hot that it will run past this little pusher in the tubes, you know, the thing that rolls it up and down. It can run down below if it's too hot. So you'll know right away if that happens, and you'll know to wait on the next few. Okay, and so again, you can use essential oils for this. I made some earlier today with spearmint. I've made lots of different kinds. Peppermint's one of our favorites, especially for winter. But I have this flavor oil. This is from brambleberry.com, and it is dark chocolate orange. It's made for using on your skin. So it's safe, it's skin safe and lip safe, dark chocolate orange. And I'm just gonna put a little bit in here. You want about 15 to 30 drops. I'm just gonna pour some in. I know that will surprise you that I didn't measure. I've made thousands of lip balm tubes for my soap making business over the years, and I've gotten to where I'm comfortable not measuring. You can sure measure if you'd like. And again, these 3 recipes will be on the blog, wagonwheelhomestead.com. So if you just search for tallow on there, you will be able to find these recipes. I'm just gonna stir it gently. And then I'm just gonna start pouring and try not to make a mess. Again, it's easier to use a flood tray, but that would make, 50 at a time. And we don't need 50 today. So you could also put a little tinting with this. You could use some natural tinting, a little cocoa powder, or you could make it pumpkin spice, put a little pumpkin pie spice in there. You want to be careful, what you put on your lips, right? Because your lips are more sensitive than maybe even your skin. And same with the essential oils. You want to be careful not to use essential oils that are super strong or a lot of them, because they can burn your skin. And if it runs over the edge a little bit, it's okay. We'll wipe it off when it solidifies. A lot of these that you buy on Amazon, you can buy little kits, and they come with labels, cute little labels. I buy my labels from onlinelabels.com for my soap making business. But again, you're getting them in bulk. So I'll try to link from Amazon, a nice little kit where you could get some labels. These smell so good. Chocolate orange is a great winter flavor. You can also add to this same recipe, it's optional, but you can also add a couple tablespoons of honey. If you want it to be sweet, you could add a little bit of honey to this as well. And obviously, since I didn't measure, we're ending up with a little bit more than 10, but usually 10 is what we get. You're just gonna wanna let these sit until they get solid. It won't take too long, just a few minutes. We'll put the lids on, labels on, and they're all done. And they should keep for, 1 to 2 years at least, so usually they're used up by then around here. The kids and everybody enjoy them. Trying to shut the tallow off on the stove for the candle because it's ready. You could easily make an afternoon of this and it wouldn't take very long to make your Christmas gifts. Look at that, I'm gonna end up with so many that I'm gonna wish I'd used my flood tray. That's all right. All right, and that's that. So I ended up with 2, 5, 9, 12, 16, 18, 22. So I obviously didn't measure very well. But anyway, so we're gonna let these set. And let's move over here just a little bit and we're going to work on the candle. What I'm gonna do first is I'm going to get 1 cup of tallow melting in the microwave just a little bit. I could use the stove too, it wouldn't really matter, for the whipped tallow balm. And so I'm gonna just use this same container because that doesn't bother me. You can use different container if you want. Obviously, you may choose to make this at a different time, right? You may not make all of them together. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna show you how to do all 3 right together. And again, measuring exactly perfect isn't really necessary. Just as close as you can. I really do like having my tallow in pint jars. I think that it's simpler, but this is just a quart jar I had left over, so. And by the way, in my tallow video, I show you rendering the tallow 3 times, and that's a good practice. But if you use only the fat, the leaf fat that's on the kidneys, it's only on the kidneys, it's very pure. You can get away with rendering it 1 time and using it for skincare only, right? And then using the rest of the tallow for your cooking. And the reason you might want to do that is because it won't have any beefy smell at all. Sometimes tallow can have a slight beefy smell. You can overcome that by adding a little bit of essential oils. And again, it's gone within seconds after you put it on your skin. Like, it's not a big deal. But if that bothers you, you can just use the leaf fat and then just melt it down 1 time and take the impurities out. You don't have to do it 3 different times like I do the rest of the tallow on the animal, and which I use for cooking. So it's just a side note. Okay, I'm gonna pop this in the microwave and we're gonna make the candle. Okay, one thing I am gonna do is I am gonna kind of clean up this jar just a little bit because I wanna make sure that my wick sticks to the bottom, okay? You wanna make sure that your wick sticks really well. You don't have to get everything off the sides, of course, but you wanna make sure that your wick is gonna stick well to the bottom of your jar. So, these are the wicks that I have. These are cotton wicks. You also wanna use healthy wicks. And these are the little stickers, little wick stickers. You can also use just a little dot of glue, right? In an emergency situation, you could use a little dot of glue or whatever you have, right? These little wick stickers are nice, they're cheap, right? So if you have them. So I'm gonna just press this down firmly right into the middle of my jar. You're just gonna wanna stick this down as best you can. You can use any kind of container, by the way. You don't have to use a jar, right? But that's just what I'm using. And then, of course, when we're done burning the candle, this will be a reusable container, right? Because we'll just wash out the tallow. It'll be just fine. So what we're gonna do is, here's our melted tallow. And we're gonna add about a tablespoon of fragrance oil or essential oil. Again, if you use fragrance oil, you wanna be sure to use phthalate-free fragrance oil. I'm just gonna move these. They're actually already pretty much solid. Move them over. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add about a teaspoon of this Strudel and Spice fragrance. This is from Candle Science. It has quite a few essential oils in it, like cinnamon, but they've combined it vanilla to make, they put vanilla fragrance oil, I think, and it makes it smells like baking, really good, yummy stuff in your kitchen, which I love for fall. I'm just gonna very gently pour this in. And I'm gonna get something to secure the wick. You can get fancy little wick holders. I most often just use a pencil, and you wanna be careful not to pull your wick off the bottom of your jar. I'm just gonna fold it over and set it so that it's in the middle of the jar. Hopefully you can see that. So it's in the middle, and we're just gonna set this off to the side and let it solidify. And that's gonna take longer because of course that's a bigger section of tallow. All right, and here is our melted tallow for the tallow balm. And what we're gonna do for this is we're gonna add the liquid oil. So we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of olive oil. You can use any kind of light oil, jojoba oil. You don't wanna use coconut oil because it's a solid oil, but you can use jojoba oil or avocado oil, whatever you have on hand. I have avocado, or I have olive oil, and so that's what I'm using today. And so we're gonna pour that in, and then I'm gonna add tea tree essential oil. You can add whatever kind of essential oil you want. You're gonna want about a teaspoon. And we're gonna let this, we're gonna stir it, and we're just gonna let it set up. Once it's room temperature and solid, then we're gonna whip it. You also can pour it into a container at this point and just use it as more of a solid lotion. But I really like the texture of it being whipped. So we're gonna do that with a blender, an immersion blender, and then we'll put it into a container, and that will be our lotion. Really super simple. So we'll be back once this is solid. So it's been a few hours. Our candle, I just pulled this out. Candle is solidified. I would let this get a little more solid though, even, you know, until tomorrow, kind of let it cure before we're gonna trim the wick, and then we will light it. And this will burn for a really long time. It smells delicious. The lip balm turned out beautiful. Again, you can put labels on it, do whatever you want to with it. And for the tallow balm, we're just going to whip it. You can whip it in a mixer bowl or with a hand mixer. I'm gonna use a stick blender, just whatever you have. Whip it up and for a couple minutes, and then we'll put it in a container, and it will also be ready. Use it like lotion or anything like that. Okay, and you want to whip it until it's like frosting. So great. And I'm just gonna put this in a jar and put it on my bathroom counter. That's where I always keep it. Use it on my belly, on my skin, on my face, right, on my hands, feet, anything. It's really, really great for your skin. So you could put it in cute little containers for Christmas. You can also put it in piping bags if you are making gifts and you want it to be really pretty. You can put it in piping bags and like pipe it into a container and it looks all swirly. That's a fun thing to do too. Certainly not necessary for everyday use, but it's something that you can do. So anyway, thanks for coming along with this video, guys. I hope that it gave you some more ideas on what you can use tallow for other than just cooking, which cooking's a good one. But yeah, candles, lip balm, lotion. We'll be making more soap and stuff with it later on. There's a gardener's hand scrub soap tutorial on the YouTube channel and on the blog here if you want to check that out. So yeah, we'll be doing more with it later on, but that's some ways that you can use tallow. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next video.